This is Kuros Kai with another Fallout 4 settlement exploration with another episode in Sanctuary Hills. I am starting to work on the bridge, and you'll see that I've actually gotten quite a bit of ways with this. And the idea that I'm going to do with this one is actually quite simple, but it is time consuming. The trick that I'm working on is I do eventually want it to line up with about here, and I'm going to do the same thing with this side over here, and it's going to go all the way around. So it's going to follow the road and follow every curve of the road all the way around it. Now, the problem is we really don't have too much for wooden round pieces that actually look right. So I'm having to do that more or less on my own. And the way that I'm doing it is a little bit strange. I'm building a pattern or base on the ground level first. And once I'm done with it, I can then attach stairs to it and use it to actually raise up everything that I want. So the trick, and I'll walk around a little bit here, is these little half shell or shack upper floors. And I use the upper ones because they're a little bit thicker and it works out pretty well. And I basically have built each one following the lay of the land, which is why some of them are going to look like steps, going all the way around. And this does take a while, which is why I'm not having everyone watch me do every single one of these, because it would be a little painstaking. Most of the time the goal is to just follow the curb of the road, and by doing so I can make it do all the curving that I want. And at one point this was starting to raise itself up a little bit too high, so I started working my way down here. And here's where I'm going to connect on the other gate. And this is kind of what I did over here. So these are based on the ones that are here and here. So if I wanted to attach another upper level, the piece that I'm using is this one usually. And what I'll do is find a way to get it to connect to the third piece. And I can get the fourth. And this is where it becomes a little bit more of a challenge. So if I need to, I will also, oh, I can do it right there. So sometimes the inside works better than the outside and vice versa. There we go. So we know that this is the one that's here because this piece here has the angle. And because of this, I can now place the upper shack floor flush with that one. And because of that, it now has the exact same pattern that this one does. So I can also do the same thing. It's one of the reasons why I'm actually building the pattern on the ground level, because it's easier for me to see what I'm doing and I can make adjustments as needed versus just kind of winging it. So let me slightly move that over and then move down to the next one. And these stairs work perfectly for what I'm doing because they give you a relatively good size of distance. So it's basically almost the same distance as it would be to walk up a set of stairs. And so on and so forth. So that's the idea, is by making the pattern on the ground, I can make something roughly the right size and shape for what I want, and I minimize the gaps that normally come from actually filling out from here, because normally when I turn at an angle you'll have a space in between like I had with the wall. This not so much, which is nice. It makes it a little bit easier for me to work, and at the same token, it definitely looks a lot neater. So that's a lot of fun. And so just so that you get an idea of how I'm laying the base level, as I said, I'm trying to kind of line myself up with the curb over here. So what I do is I place it first, and since this is at ground level, I'm going to raise it up 1 using the place anywhere. Then I'm going to rotate it just a little bit, move it in so I cover over the gap, and then move across. And I still see that I have a little bit of room here, so let me turn that just a little bit more. As you can see, I have a tiny bit more room to work, and that does it. So that puts it right where I want it to be, and then I basically get rid of the blur from moving it, and I continue on. So as you make these go across, since the last one was up, I'll put that one down a little bit, so that way I don't go too crazy on the height. Move that a little bit towards me, and put it there, and then check it, and that works. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to work my way across over here, and following the curve all the way back down to the end. So obviously this is going to take a little bit of time. That's why I'm only going to cut off a little bit here, and you will see it when I am done with the base and starting to once again work on the top level. But yeah, this will take a little bit of time. I will show you all a little bit later on from here. Okay, and I have finished building the base for my walkway that goes from gate to gate and all the way around, following the curb of the street of the entire area. Now, I've also taken the opportunity to do a little bit of building on the top side, basically using the pattern that I was building across the bottom. And as you can see, it basically follows along exactly the same way as it did before, which is exactly what I was looking for. So at this point, I have pretty much what I want to get going. These pathways on the bottom here, as I said, are going to be the pattern that I use. As you can see, what I do is I just basically move this into the correct position, and then I can take that piece and put it right where it needs to be. So as long as it lines up with this here and here, then it's exactly where it needs to be for the whole thing. And then what I do is I take the next one and move it down and lift it up. And basically it will follow the exact same pattern, and I can basically move all of these pieces up from the bottom to the top. So once that's done, I will have my entire walkway built up exactly the way I want to. So at this point, from what I do have, I'll do a quick little tour of this. I can come up across here. This is going to have railings, as obvious, just because safety first, obviously, post-apocalyptic, radiation and railings, it's all important. But this is what I have so far here, and I'm going to use this to have a walkway that matches up with the buildings that I'm going to build on top of the housing that's here. So as you can see from here, that's where I put the roofing, and you can see it exactly, it fits pretty well, and I will build on top of that once it comes time. So now I just have to take the time to fill in my walkway, and that's going to take a little bit of time, a lot less time than it takes to actually fill out the pathing, which I did going all the way down to the other gates. So as you can see, I've gotten this done. This will take a fair bit of time, and what I'll do is I'll probably work on it a little bit at a time, and then I'll switch over to the other side because I want to kind of get towards the gate at the end right about the same time for the whole thing. That's my goal, but it's going to probably take another hour or so just to get this done. Maybe a little bit less, but that's where I'm at right now. So I just wanted to show that off, and I will come back and show you the end result of all of this. And I have just completed the walkway on both sides. Managed to get them from gate to gate, and took a little bit of doing, but I'm pretty happy with the results. I don't expect perfection on this just because that would be really hard to do with square pieces trying to fit into a curve. So as you can see right here, I have the walkway on one side and on the other, and I'm not trying to make it completely flat. That wouldn't work because the elevation does change. One of the reasons why the walls on the back over there do change height as well. So I expect that to be the case, and I have managed to do it. So it takes a little bit of time. As you can see, the trick really is build the ground level, make it the pattern that you want, and then use the staircases in order to have an even raise on all sides. Now, I did make some changes as I was going along. I did raise and lower pieces as I was going back there if it looked too distinctive. But overall, I can say I am extremely satisfied with this. This is not an easy thing to do, and it is definitely one of the more time-consuming tasks. So my walkway is completed, and it does go all the way around following the road. I'm going to attach various connections between sides at various locations, and that'll be something I can add on later for aesthetics. It doesn't really need it. I'm also going to add on railings because we don't want people falling off. So the nice thing is the second levels of most buildings will attach to this area here, and it'll be pretty useful. If I were to actually decide to go really high, I might build a third layer, although I don't think it's really 100% necessary for that. Having just the walkway here is, I think, pretty good, and I wouldn't have anything to attach it to because these are at wall level when I do them. So overall, that is the next big milestone out of the way, getting the walkway done, and I would say I'm, like I said, very happy with that. So my next step is to start building the framework for the buildings on top and then connecting them to the walkway. And as I said, I don't really have any direct idea of what I want to put into every building. I know I'm going to have like a medical center. I know I'm going to have a police station. I know I'm going to have an armor store and a weapons store specifically. But then I'm also going to have the main shopping area for people that are traveling into the settlement once it's done. And not sure what I'll do with my old house. May do something with it, may not. Definitely want to make a gym or workout area because I do want to make my settlers happy overall. And we'll see what we have. So as you can see, this is a completed walkway following the curvature of the road in Sanctuary Hills. I will be putting some extra supports on various spots just so that it looks like it's not being held up by magic, because to be fair, that's exactly what it looks like right now. But you get the idea of what I'm trying to accomplish on this. Otherwise, I will end the episode here, and I will see you all later. This is Kuros Kai.